Countdown. I'm your Countdown host, MJ Book, back for another episode here in the world of The Countdown. It's good to be back here in the 123 studios, getting another episode for all you folks. Been busy a little bit. Do apologize. September's kind of a weird month for me in a few different ways. You know, it took a while to recover after the insane trip to Chicago, watching the AEW All Out pay-per-view. If you're wanting to know what thought of that, please go over and listen to Third Generation Wrestling for the review, as me, Rob, and Eric went to that show. So if you want to know what we thought, please go there. And it took a while to recover because my throat was all jacked up, and it happened around the same time that Star Trek Day was going to be occurring just a few days later, and I was going to be recording an episode for Star Trek Day, but my throat was jacked up, and I had lost my voice. I even had to call into work because my voice was just gone, and the next day it was present, but not in the clearest of ways. So I was like, okay, we're just not going to do this, and we'll do it in the weekend. Got to the weekend, and I did record it, but something happened, and it just is unplayable. And I could have just recorded again, but I was like, you know what? I already recorded this once. I just chalk it up to maybe I was just being stupid or lazy, but I recorded it. It didn't work. We're just going to let it go. It's too far past Star Trek Day. I'm just going to let it go. So sadly, I'll end up recording that somewhere maybe down the line again, but it'll be just a random episode that, I'll call a replacement for Star Trek Day. Sorry about that, but I will eventually get that episode redone. It was just too far past Star Trek Day to do it, and I just decided to let it go. But today, if you remember a year ago, this time was busy for a couple of reasons. One, I do have some personal stuff that goes on around here that makes it a little rough. The other is Star Trek Day happens, and then literally like a week later, it's another day. A day celebrating someone who has been a part of the countdown from the beginning and has been mentioned on a lot of lists, and that is the Batman. Because today is Batman Day. That's right. As I'm recording this right now, it is Batman Day. And I could not also do the same thing with Batman Day. Hopefully, hopefully there won't be any technical snafus like occurred with Star Trek Day. But if something does happen, this is going to get aired one way or another. So, figured today got to do a countdown related to the Batman, and I have one, and I'm kind of shocked I haven't actually done this up until now. In a way, I did it when I counted down DC movies because there was some Batman thrown in there, but I hadn't done a list where it's just Batman movies. Last year, I believe the Batman Day list was actors who had played Batman. Well, this one, we're covering the movies. So this is top 10 Batman movies. Now, these are movies in which Batman is a central character. He's one of the main characters, not a side character, not a character that just pops in a couple of scenes. So a movie like Suicide Squad, the first one, does not count, even though he was one of the very only few good things about that thing. Also, direct-to-DVD movies do not count unless they have a direct correlation link to a theater movie. An example of this, Marvel, Daredevil. Daredevil, the movie, there's a theatrical movie, and then there's the director's cut. Director's cut version was not in theaters. However, it's the same movie essentially as the theatrical movie, just the director's cut version of it. So it's connected, so it's theatrical. So if there happens to be a movie out there that is like that, it can be on this countdown. Now, should I do honorable mentions? No, we're not going to dip in honorable mentions. We're going to just get right into it. And here we go. Let's get started with the countdown. This is a 10-spot countdown, as I said, counting down 10 Batman movies. So let's get it going with number 10. And number 10 is from 2017, and it is Justice League. Justice League. Not the other one that came out a few years later. This was the first incarnation of Justice League. Now, there are a lot of people who have weird feelings about Justice League, and I do get it. And as the years have come by, I do understand some of those feelings, but you have to understand that for me, I just never thought I would see a Justice League movie happen. And I wish they wouldn't have waited so long for it. And then I wish they hadn't rushed it, because there are moments where it's quite rushed. And there are moments where the Bat is not, it almost becomes they made him comic relief on some levels. And Batman should not be comic relief. And when you look at Ben Affleck's portrayal in Batman vs. Superman, and then you look at his portrayal in Justice League, the change is dramatic. It's almost a completely different person. And maybe when I was watching it in the theater with Rob, I believe you were there with me, maybe I got too excited over the fact that it was Justice League. So over the years, I kind of understand why people feel the way they do about Justice League, but it is still a movie I enjoy. It is a movie that I have no problems watching, but I can see the flaws in it. But to me, it's still a very good movie. Definitely can see, though, the moments that maybe should not have happened, the mistakes that were definitely made, and maybe there was a reason for there to be another Justice League movie. Maybe, I don't know. But number 10, with Ben Affleck as the Bat himself, 2017's Justice League. Number 9. Number 9 is a Batman movie that also has some people feeling a certain way, and it is centered around a particular character. This movie was 19. That should tell you already what era we're going in. 1992. If you're a Batman fan, you should already know what this is, which Batman movie I'm talking about here. This one was directed by Tim Burton, stars, of course, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken. It is Batman Returns. And of course, the main villain in this is Penguin, who is played by Danny DeVito. And Penguin is a character who has changed a lot since the comics to now. I mean, the metamorphosis the character has changed into is amazing. I mean, before it was just this plump little fat dude. I mean, he's still plump little dude, but they've given his character so many different arcs, so many different changes. It has really changed his character in some ways, I think, a lot for the better, because when you think of the Penguin in the early days, he just wasn't somebody you would think of as a villain that should be around. And thank goodness that they made the improvements, or else we'd have been stuck with the Burgess Meredith version of Penguin in our heads. Rest in peace, Burgess Meredith. But the Danny DeVito Penguin, which I don't have a problem with the actor playing the Penguin, clearly the perfect person to be playing the Penguin. The problem is what they did with him. They made him a little too gross. The ooze coming out of his mouth, the green saliva ooze, his nasty dark green brown teeth. They didn't need to go quite this gross. And obviously that's Tim Burton. No disrespect to Tim Burton. He is, I liked certain Tim Burton movies. And when done right, his darkness is an asset. However, with Penguin, it was not an asset. But for Catwoman, he nailed that perfectly. And that's credit to the writers, and it is credited also to the very woman who would play Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer. To this day, Michelle Pfeiffer, for a lot of Bat fans, she is still the quintessential version of Catwoman. Just obviously gorgeous in that outfit. I mean, just absolutely sexy in that outfit. And Michelle Pfeiffer's still fine as hell. But there was just something about that portrayal of Catwoman that worked. And no disrespect to the Catwoman we would see in The Dark Knight Rises, and all the disrespect in the world to the Catwoman we saw in Halle Berry's Catwoman. But Michelle Pfeiffer is when you think of Catwoman, that's a lot of people, that's one of the ones they think of first. There are those who think of Lee Merriweather from the Batman Adam West thing. Ugh. And I get it, but obviously that portrayal was a lot better. This would be Keaton's, at the time, last portrayal of the Bat. And of course, now he's going to be in Flashpoint, once again portraying this Batman. So the timeline supposedly is this Batman, which is going to be quite interesting what they do with the character. It'll be great to see Keaton come back as Batman. It shouldn't have taken this long for him to get back into the world of Batman, because he's one of the main reasons this world is so awesome now, is that 1989 movie. And come on, I just complimented it, so it's on this list somewhere. But this is probably one of the few lists where probably the movies that are going to be on it. It's just a matter of where they're placed. So that's my number 9, the Bat, the Cat, and the Bird, aka Batman Returns. And by the way, that term, Bat, Cat, the Bird, it's a Batman Returns poster that I have. Number 8. I know a few people who would probably put this one a little higher up. And I do have my reasons for putting it down a little bit. It's a good movie. It is a very good movie. It's 1995. This one directed by Joel Schumacher. Not that one, the other one. Starring Val Kilmer, Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey, Chris O'Donnell, Nicole Kidman. It is Batman Forever. And Batman Forever, here's the thing about Batman Forever. It is a very good movie. And Kilmer at moments is actually a good Batman. But there are these small things that makes him a bad Batman. I think his Bruce Wayne was very, very good. I don't have a complaint on his Bruce Wayne. His Batman is a little bit of a problem. His attitude as Batman, I was like, I'm not sure this is working, but I'm going to let this go. But I was kind of through with him as Batman with that dumb smile, that grin, that dumb, stupid, big ass grin. I'm sorry. If you're wanting, Batman can smile in the Batsuit, but not like that. It just looked stupid. It didn't look right. And he lost me right there. And I'm like, okay, you just lost me. You're not a Batman I'm going to remember fondly. Your Bruce is good. The movie's good. You have nipples on the Batsuit, which I still think is ridiculous. And I hate how they changed Gotham. They made Gotham this parody. That Gotham is the kind of Gotham Adam West's Batman would be at home at. It was a parody of Gotham, which obviously would get a lot worse. Thank you, Mr. Schumacher. But in this movie, you have Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent Two-Face, and Jim Carrey, who stole the movie as the Riddler, Edward Nygma. He was the right hire, without a shadow of a doubt. One of the best hires throughout all these Batman movies was Jim Carrey as the Riddler. It was just a perfect fit. When I heard that he was playing the Riddler, that I had absolutely no problem with. I was excited to see his Riddler. And for me, he did it right, did it perfectly. Not a lot of live action Riddlers out there, but he is hands down to me the best one. I know some people like the Gotham, Gotham. I know he showed up over there. And there may be some of those old holdouts who like Frank Gorshin, I think his name is, from the old Adam West show. But this is the Riddler I think of first, is this one. Then I actually think of Batman the Animated Series. But Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, a little weird when you know that in the Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, Harvey Dent was played by Billy D. Williams' brother. And I was like, okay, so he went from black to white. Okay, this is weird. Whatever. Tommy Lee's performance, a little over the top, just to say it mildly, a little over the top. But not bad. I would have liked to see what Billy D. Williams Two-Face would have been like. And if you're a comic book fan, you're already going to be seeing that if you don't know already, because there's a comic book out there that's based in the world of the Batman 1989, in which it's dealing a lot with Harvey Dent, and it is Billy D. Williams' face on there. So that, if you're a fan and kind of curious, I'd recommend searching those comics. But Batman Forever, like I said, interesting movie. Of course, this would be the return of bringing Robin into it. And Robin, yeah, that didn't work. that did not work. I was excited when I first heard, okay, Robin, that'll be cool. And then I saw it and I'm like, yeah, that's not working. that didn't work. And dear God, that got only worse. But Nicole Kidman didn't need her in this movie. Absolutely worthless. Beautiful woman, no doubt on that, but she was absolutely useless. Would have been fine not having her in this movie at all. She's the one character throughout this movie I could completely erase, and the movie is 1,000 times better. That's just my opinion. Not because she's a woman. I don't want to hear that from anybody. I just complimented Michelle Pfeiffer. So please, it doesn't have anything to do with that. And it's not about being sexy, because Nicole Kidman is fine. I just didn't care about the character. She was just a drag. She was silly. She was just this stupid, horny teen who was trying to get into Batman's tights. So I just could have done without her. But still a good movie. Batman Forever. Rob, I know you love Batman Forever. I think you've said this is, for a long time, this is your favorite Batman. Maybe he still is. I can't remember if you said Ben Affleck was better as far as live action. But this is my number 8, Batman Forever. Number 7, we finally get into a little bit more recent Batman again. And how recent? We're getting into the quintessential series when it comes to Batman. And that is, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy by director Christopher Nolan. So this is obviously one of those movies starring Christian Bale, also Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway. It is, of course, The Dark Knight Rises. Now, Dark Knight Rises takes place, I think it's about 8 years after The Dark Knight. And Bruce is pretty much given up the mask because, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched The Dark Knight, I'm about to drop a spoiler. This is your warning. Spoiler alert. At the end of The Dark Knight, of course, he's accused of murdering Harvey Dent, Two-Face. And so Batman is wanted by the police. And Bruce is no longer Batman anymore. And now he's kind of hidden himself away in his mansion where he's hardly ever seen. And of course, the body damage that he has taken from the years of being the Bat has practically just made him an old man walking around on his cane. He's aged horribly because of all the battles and the wars he's gotten into as Batman. And early on, this is how you meet Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. Now, I actually like her portrayal of Catwoman. Some folks have a problem with her cat outfit. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't think you needed to go all sexy with it. I'm fine with it not being sexy. I heard people complain about that. I didn't care. It was a functional outfit. The Dark Knight movies were always about it kind of being in the real world. And so her outfit had to somewhat be like that and not so comic booky. And I think they did an excellent job with that. Now, the person that some people have is Bane, Tom Hardy. And Eric, you've discussed this up the yin yang. And I understand your opinion when you say he's too short. I get it. Here's the thing. His portrayal of Bane is perfect. I love his portrayal of Bane. As far as the size, if you're trying to get it accurate, you're going to have to get a computer-generated animated Bane, because Bane is like 2-3 times bigger than Bats when he gets that juice in there and the venom juice. And if we're going to go that route, which that kind of eliminates the real world aspect of it a little bit, he pumps himself up really big, and there's no human being that big. There's some big ones out there, but not even Brock is that big, and he big. So it just wouldn't work if you're going to go with that kind of a Bane. And we had the Bane that was all puffed up and stupid looking. So if you want that kind of a Bane, go watch Batman and Robin. You have him right there, all puffed up, and he looks stupid. Bane. So you have Bane, that kind of Bane right there. I like the Tom Hardy portrayal. I don't care if he was a little short. Bane, a lot of people who don't realize that character of Bane, he's not a big, dumb meathead that just walks around going, Bane. That's not Bane, all right? Tom Hardy captured the Bane far, far better. Great Bane. We haven't exactly had a lot of live action Bane, so saying he's the best one may seem like a default, but he did it well. He did it quite well. I like his Bane portrayal. So if somebody else portrays Bane, they're going to have to work their ass off because it was such a good portrayal. And this wrapped up, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy. I wish it could have wrapped up a little better. I really do. For such a great trilogy, it didn't end as greatly as it could have. I think it could have ended better, but it did give, again, it stayed in the real world. And that's what I really like about the Dark Knight trilogy. As far as a film series dedicated to a comic book hero, this series did it probably the best. Maybe that's another countdown I can do, but they probably did it the best. Christopher Nolan, an absolute genius. This is one of his, this is definitely the series of films that people are going to think of a lot when you hear the name Christopher Nolan, and he's done great work since as well. I love Interstellar, for example, but this was just a fine trilogy. I just wish it could have ended a little better. Christian Bale as Batman. I love his Bruce Wayne. His Bruce Wayne's very good. Even as Batman, he's very good. But I've said this numerous times. It's when he talks. When he talks as Batman, it's just brutal. And as each movie kept going, the voice got worse. And by this point, I was just, it was killing my ears. Hearing him talk as the Batman in these movies. It was just bad. It was just killing me. But still a very good movie. Love this movie. I have absolutely no problems watching The Dark Knight Rises. So number 7, Dark Knight Rises. Oh boy. Number 6. Some people would put this a lot higher. And I understand why people would. Because this, as far as the movies, this is the one that started it all. That should tell you right there what it is. As far as Batman movies, we did not have a whole lot. We had a couple of Republic serials. We had that Adam West bullshit. And we just didn't have anything else as far as Batman, except cartoons and comics. And by cartoons, I don't even mean the animated series, because it didn't exist yet. The reason it exists is because of this movie. 1989, directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Kim Basinger, Robert Wall. It is simply called Batman. This movie, this is a big benchmark, and it's one of the reasons it does hurt putting it low, but there are, again, I have my reasons, and I've kind of explained these in the previous countdown when I was counting down, I believe, DC movies. This movie is just excellent. It has its flaws, however. It does have them. And one of the big ones, and Tim Burton himself has said he regrets it, is making Joker kill Bruce's parents. Oh no, spoiler alert! But I already said spoiler alert earlier, so I'm not going to keep saying that every time. I said it then. That should warn you of spoilers. That I didn't like. I understand why you do it. I get it. But to me, it was really, really dumb. It was too Hollywood. That was way too Hollywood. And it's the biggest glaring problem with that movie is having Joker killing Bruce's parents. It drives me nuts every single time it gets to that point where Bruce is in the Batcave and he's thinking back, and it drives me nuts. And the clock tower, it just drives me nuts, that whole storyline, that whole part of it. The rest of it is so damn good. And I remember the uproar when Keaton was going to be Batman. People lost their shit. And I got it. And I kind of fell in there. I was like, yeah, that's stupid. That's not going to work. And then I watched it and wow, he became my favorite live action Batman for a very, very long time. Now, his Bruce was horrible at moments. There was times his Bruce was very good. And then there's times his Bruce is like, yeah, this is the Michael Keaton people were afraid they would see. You know, that's Mr. Mom right there. There's Mr. Mom. And I didn't come to this theater to watch Mr. Mom, but there would be those moments where he would really dip in and you could see, okay, that's Bruce. You know, his scenes in the Batcave, for example, when he's working at the Bat computer and when he's looking at his parents' file before we get to the Joker being the one who pulled the trigger. That was Bruce. He captured that well. Love the bat suit in this movie. The Batmobile, amazing. The poster, one of my favorite movie posters ever that I still have, and it's on my wall. Love, love, love this movie. Jack Nicholson as the Joker at that time became my favorite all-time Joker and was for a very long time again as well. This movie was just so, and the way they had Gotham look, I was like, okay, real world, probably a city wouldn't look like that. But Gotham is it's a dark, depressing, miserable, old looking city that you got to be really tough to survive in it because you could die. The death rate in Gotham is ridiculous. So I love the look of Gotham in this movie. Michael Gough, who plays Alfred, very good Alfred. He was my favorite Alfred for a long time as well. They did this movie so well. And Batman Fever, it's kind of hard for people to imagine how much that movie took over the world. It was everywhere. And I was so excited seeing that movie as a kid. My hero, my favorite comic book character. Yes, even back then, before this movie existed, Batman was my guy. We only had Superman and a great portrayal by Christopher Reeves, but Batman was always my guy. And finally, he was on the screen, a real Batman, not that bullshit Adam West crap. And it was just awesome. So as great as this movie lives in my soul, and it does hurt having it at 6, but its place is secure. We wouldn't have all the other Batman movies if not for the success for this. We wouldn't have gotten the animated series if it's not for this, because that comes from the world of this, essentially. Not the same timeline or anything like that, but that dark feel. And it was about time we went back to that. You know, Frank Miller dipped us back into that as well in the comic book world because it had been so goofy for so long. Frank brought us back. So big time ups. It hurts to put it this low, but I have my reasons. I might regret it a little bit, but I have my reasons. And number 6, Batman, 1989. Oh boy, we're going into our 5. And this is where some of you are going to have a problem with this choice, because I know how people feel about this movie. Number 5 from 2016 is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. I know how people feel about this movie. I get it. But this was our first portrayal of our time seeing Ben Affleck as the Bat. And I remember the uproar that happened when he got the role. For those people who were around with Keaton, it was just reliving it again, except now you have social media. So we didn't have social media back then. So now the uproar seemed bigger, but it was about the same. People had more avenues to voice their opinion. I remember, and on my private Facebook page, not the Countdown Facebook page, but my private one, before this movie had even come out, I did a video just early pre-countdown, oddly enough, where I counted down some of my favorite Batman. And I talked a little bit about the movie that was going to be coming out at that time, which was Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. And I remember saying, and I said it hundreds of times, it's recorded, it's on my Facebook page, that I felt that Ben Affleck is going to be a very good Batman. I just wasn't worried of it. And my evidence for me was Daredevil. And I know people don't like Daredevil, there are people out there who don't. Eric, you do, at least in the director's cut. His Daredevil was good. Is it a little different than the comic? Yeah, it is. It's a little different, but I liked it. His version was a little darker, a little more brooding. And sorry, is Batman dark? Yeah. Does he brood a lot? Yeah. I think that means he could do this then. He had the right look. He looked like Bruce Wayne Batman. So I was like, okay, we got the look here. So nobody's going to bitch about that. And then we saw him in the suit when that came out. I'm like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't fuck with that one. And then my only question was the voice at that point. And they did it right with the voice modulator. Instead of somebody throwing their voice, which I don't have a problem with if you can do it right. Like Kevin Conroy, he can do it right. So it doesn't sound stupid. Christian Bale could not do it right. Michael Keaton, I think, even did it right, throwing his voice. Kilmer, middle. And Clooney didn't even fucking try. But I have always wanted to see on the big screen the fight between Batman and Superman. It's just one of those things I've always wanted to see. Read it numerous times in comics, and I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see the Bat fight and beat the living shit out of Superman. I'm sorry, but it's what I wanted to see. It was one of the biggest dreams was to see that. And even though I knew it was happening, I remember sitting there going, how is this fight going to end? I mean, obviously they're going to be friends at some point down the line, but somebody's going to win this fight. And whoever wins this fight, that's some bragging rights a little bit with some nerd cultures. And I don't want to be on the side where Bat loses. And thank God he didn't. He beat the shit. He beat Superman up and he won the fight. He won the fight. He didn't kill him or anything, but he won the fight. Ben Affleck's Batman captured what Batman is to me perfectly, which is why he is the best live action Batman there is. I did a countdown where I already said it. If you didn't catch that episode, well, now I just blew the number one for you there. To me, he is the best live action Batman. I had no complaints on his portrayal of Batman in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. As I said, they made him comic relief in Justice League. That I have a problem with a little bit. But this, I just love this movie. It just made me feel good. It has some things in it that are not good. Jesse Eisenberg, we're talking about you. We're talking about you, Lex Luthor, aka the Riddler. And for those of you who are in on the Hollywood gossip and know the stories and the interviews that have occurred, you understand why I said the Riddler. If you don't, go look it up. But this, I enjoyed this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Loved it. Rob, I think I went with you with this one. Maybe it was this I went with you and maybe not Justice League. I know we went and saw this definitely, but I'm pretty sure we saw Justice League together too. But like I said, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. And of course the line is, do you bleed? I mean, and he said that. I was like, oh, please make him bleed. I love Ben Affleck's portrayal of the Bat, and it's a shame that we didn't get more portrayals, but we are getting another one again, Flashpoint. So that'll be interesting to see him don the cape and cowl one probably final time, and that's sad because he should have gotten his own movie. That I will talk about some other time. But number 5, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. I know some people would put this way lower, but it really is a good movie to me. And I like Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman. I think he gets some grief, and he really doesn't deserve the grief. Some people still have Christopher Reeve in their head, which rest in peace to Christopher Reeve, an awesome portrayal. But this character's got to move on, and there wasn't a lot of good portrayals up until then. Brandon Routh, who I'm an Iowan, he's an Iowan, but he sucked. Dean Cain, and I don't even watch this new one because I just think it looks stupid, so I've never watched it. But I've watched him from Supergirl, and I wasn't a fan, so no, he's not the worst, just middle. So Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, number 5. You may put it down at number 10, or maybe it wouldn't even be in your top 10, which there's really only about 15 movies theatrically that had the bat in it, just in it. So you'd be putting over a few things if you didn't have this movie in your 10. This is one of those things you may not have a choice. So it might be your 10 or your 9 because of Justice League. But number 5, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Number 4. Okay. We're back to, again, a movie that started it all in a way. And by it all, I mean it started a franchise, a part of the franchise, a trilogy, shall I say. This is the beginning, and that's an interesting word to use, beginning of the Dark Knight trilogy. 2005, directed by Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Kent Watanabe, Liam Neeson, Gary Oldman, Katie Holmes, Cillian Murphy, Tom Wilkinson, Rutger Hauer, Morgan Freeman. That's a lot of people in this movie, but heck of a movie, heck of a cast for Batman Begins. Batman Begins we've seen how Bruce seeing his parents murdered numerous times, and we'll see it many more times. And some people are sick of seeing it, and I do understand why, but you cannot do a Batman story without that. You just can't. It's kind of like doing a Superman story without talking about Krypton. You really can't. You kind of have to. It's the basis of the character. You kind of have to talk about his parents. And as far as movie-wise, you don't really see a whole lot of how he becomes the Bat. In pretty much all the movies up until this point, which is, of course, Batman 1989, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. He's already Batman. You don't see him become it. He already is it. This decides to go way back. This decides to give you what happens in between after his parents are killed and the first time he puts on the cape and cowl. It garners that time frame in between, which is a lot of years. And comic book wise, this story has been told, but there are people who don't read the comics. And so this was going to be very interesting to see how they were going to tell this story. And I was interested. What were you going to do with this story? And they dipped it, again, I said this earlier, the real world feel. And I love that they did that for the Dark Knight trilogy. And it made, there's not a lot of characters you can do that with. And they managed to do it so well with Batman. I think he's one of the best characters that you could do that with because he doesn't have superpowers. He doesn't have superpowers. He's not from another planet. He doesn't have a ring that gives him all these powers. He's not from some fantasy island. He's one of the few. He's one of the very few you could do this kind of a project with. And Liam Neeson, just a tremendous. That was a great hire. I at first I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to give you a chance, but I'm like, I'm interested in seeing who you're going to be, which, because he's Descartes. And there's some people who may not realize the history of Descartes. That's not just some name that the filmmakers made. Descartes is a part of the Batman mythos via the comics. If you want to know where and how, he is a part of Batman's training. If you want to know how, you can look it up, but they didn't just pull that name out of their ass. It is a part of the history. And Ra's al Ghul being involved in the League of Assassins, it's like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. And God, they just did a great job. Gary Oldman, very good job as Jim Gordon. Scarecrow, I was like, okay, we're getting a new villain because we hadn't seen a live action Scarecrow. So we've just seen comics and animated versions of Scarecrow. So a live action Scarecrow, and Murphy did good. He did a good job with what he was given as Scarecrow. And the bat suit, we're still in the era of the bat suit where he can't turn his head, which they would fix eventually, finally. But I like the bat suit. The tumbler. There are people who have problems with the tumbler. I am not one of them. I love the Tumbler. I love that car. It at first I was like, but it quickly grew on me. Love the Tumbler. When it comes to the Batmobiles, Tim Burton 1989 and the Tumbler, those two are my faves, and sometimes they interchange. But in the end of the day, the Batman 1989 one is just a hair my favorite. But man, I love the Tumbler. I would stop me from getting a parking space when I'm driving around in the Tumbler. Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. It was great to have Lucius, because not too many people were familiar with Lucius Fox, unless you read the comics or if you watch the Batman the Animated Series. But this is even a more different Lucius than that one. And I like the fact that they explained, hey, this is how he gets the suit. This is where he gets the technology, because he has to get it from somewhere. And I like that Lucius is able to fill in that void. And after this, of course, he would become an even bigger part of the Batman family and Team Batman. And just, it was a very good choice to get Morgan Freeman to play this role. He did it excellently. And Michael Caine just nails it as Alfred. I mean, just a more human Alfred in some respects. Not to say that Michael Koff's Alfred was not. It's just that there were moments he didn't quite dip into that, even though he was comedic. I love them both, but just, again, by a hair, I like Michael Caine's Alfred just a little bit more, and it was a brilliant choice for him to play Alfred. Just an amazing choice. As soon as I heard he was playing Alfred, I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about Alfred. Alfred's covered. Alfred's good. We're safe. And Katie Holmes, yeah, I probably could have done without her. I probably could have done without her in this movie. I don't think we needed her. I just don't think we needed her. And I didn't like her portrayal. I didn't like Rachel Dawes, or at least her version of Rachel Dawes. I think somebody else played Rachel Dawes better than her. But it was, I really could have done without her. And Ken Watanabe as Ra's al Ghul was was interesting, because I didn't expect to see him in the movie, and then he popped up. I'm like, oh, you're in this. Okay, interesting, because I know who you are. Tom Wilkinson playing Carmine Falcone. I like the fact it deals with Falcone and the mobster end of it, because that's something, again, don't see a lot in the live action. Saw it in the animated series, see it in the comics. But again, Batman Begins. This movie is amazing. I have that poster again on my wall as well. Love this movie. The movie started off well, and Christian Bale, his voice again. This swear to me. Oh God, I hate that line. His voice as Batman was bad, but this was the most tolerable that it was in this movie, because each movie it got worse. But Batman Begins, amazing movie, the beginning of the Dark Knight trilogy, and we would be in for a hell of a ride with this trilogy. My number 4. Number 3. Batman can be good in many different mediums. Batman can be good on TV. Batman can be good in the movies. Batman can be good as an audiobook, as a book, comic book, can be good live action, but also can be good on the video games and animation. And the only animated movie that has ever been worth putting in a list of best Batman movies happened all the way back in 1993, starring the voice talents of Kevin Conroy, Dana Delaney, Hart Bachner, Mark Hamill, Stacy Keach, Abe Vigoda, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., rest in peace, sir. It is, of course, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Batman Mask of the Phantasm is right in the Batman the Animated Series universe, telling an untold story of Batman, his beginnings, again, in a way. He's accused, of course, of these gruesome murders that are happening, of these mob bosses. And Batman he's out there to try to prove his innocence. And that brings in the Phantasm, who is actually the one doing it. And the movie is trying to figure out who is the Phantasm. And it also deals with Batman's past and his past connections with villains that he would later face as Batman, because he's the past it deals with him is it's after his parents have been killed. He's already determined that he's going to do something. He's been training for it. He still doesn't understand quite what. He doesn't have the form yet, so he doesn't have a bat form. He's not there yet, but he's so close to choosing that form. And things occur that could alter the course of whether there would even have been a Batman. It's such a great story. The animation for Batman the Animated Series is legendary, and it's just an amazing job the animators did for this show. It's a great show. And if you have not watched Batman the Animated Series, damn it, you need to. But if you're a Batman fan, you have watched Batman the Animated Series. I have Batman the Animated Series, the complete series, twice. Once on a DVD that I bought for myself. Jen, you saw me when I first saw that thing in Target, and I lost my shit because I picked it up and I couldn't put that thing down for a few minutes. And then when I did, I put it down and ran away like an idiot because I wasn't going to be able to avoid it again. And it would be years before I saw that thing again. And I bought it, I believe, on eBay. Some of the discs were scratched, kind of pissed me off. And about 3 years ago, around my birthday, Ray, former roommate, bought me Batman the Animated Series, the complete series on Blu-ray, the collector's edition. Awesome to have that thing on Blu-ray. Definitely recommend getting that thing on Blu-ray. It is friggin' awesome watching the animated series. You think it's cool in its original showing on maybe on DVD or what you see on TV. Oh God, get that thing on Blu-ray. That is one of my most cherished possessions, is the animated series on Blu-ray. But Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it's such an amazing movie. I mean, this is an animated movie, and I put it over all these other live action movies. I put it over Batman Begins. I put it over Batman 1989. I put it over Batman Forever. I put it over Justice League, which some of you probably don't have a problem with. But it's just so damn good. It is so damn good. And we don't exactly live in an era anymore where these superhero animated movies are showing up on the big screen. Some do, but they're mostly just going direct to DVD and Blu-ray, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's good ones that do that too, like the most recent ones, like Batman: The Long Halloween. That is an amazing two movies, part 1 and 2, which I bought on Blu-ray. I own both of them. Definitely recommend watching those. There have been good ones like Batman Hush, amazing and awesome. There's been great Batman movies direct to DVD Blu-ray. I think I just have another list idea. This was in theaters though, and this could have gone the wrong way and it could have been an absolute flop, but it wasn't. It was so successful, and I'm amazed they didn't do more Batman animated movies on the big screen, because after this we started dipping into that little era of direct to VHS at the time, because that's how old this stuff is. Because after this, we would have Sub-Zero, which is a good movie. And then we're in Batman Beyond time. And then you have Return of the Joker. And we're just at this point, we're just direct to DVD and Blu-ray with the animated movies. But if you're a fan of the animated series, which if you're a fan of Batman, you already are, you already know how great Mask of the Phantasm is. If by some reason you're one of those few people that has never watched Batman the Animated Series, and you're a Batman fan, which would be really weird if you are a Batman fan and you've never watched it, but I'm sure there's somebody out there. You've got to watch it. You just have got to watch Batman the Animated Series. And if you're going to watch either this or Sub-Zero, or I'll even throw in the Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, you've got to watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It is just a brilliant, stunning movie. It's Rob, you love this movie too. I don't think you have a problem with me having this movie high up. Mask of the Phantasm, just an awe-inspiring movie out of the world of the legendary and great, and a show that I named in a previous countdown, one of the greatest animated TV shows of all time. And that's what makes it my number 3. Number 2, and the runner up. What could be the runner up? Now, I know you are all counting in your heads Batman movies, and you're like, well, he doesn't exactly have a lot of choices here as to what could possibly be number 2 and number 1. Well, number 2 is Zack Snyder's Justice League. And it was a little hard putting this at number 2. There's a part of me that felt this could easily be number 1, easily. But there is one factor that I will discuss later, which put this at number 2 honorably. Obviously, there's a lot of complaints about Justice League, the original, which I already went into. When there was rumors for a couple of years of this Zack Snyder cut, and I remember hearing all of them and thinking, is there really a Zack Snyder's cut? I would love to see what that would be. And even when they announced, when I heard rumbles that it actually is getting released, we'd kind of already heard rumors that it was going to be released and heard that it was just a gag. It was a joke. It was just internet trolls, all kinds of stuff until I saw the trailer for it. And then even when I saw the trailer for it, I'm like, okay, is this a fan trailer for it? And then I dug around a little more and discovered, no, this isn't a fan trailer. This is legit, a Zack Snyder cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. And then I hear how long it is. And I know people have a problem with the length of that movie. There's nothing wrong with a long movie if it's good. There's nothing wrong. If it's good, there's nothing wrong with it. This is a long movie and it just doesn't feel it. It's just that damn good. It is so good. All the shit that was in Justice League is gone. They corrected all the mistakes in this movie. Cyborg was a character they just did poorly. And in the original, I didn't give a flying fuck about Cyborg. I'm sorry. I didn't care. I thought he was stupid. He was pointless. And that movie, I could have done without him, but I understand why you had to have him because of the mother box connection. I get it. But other than that, he was completely pointless and I just didn't care about him. They gave us no reason to care about Cyborg. Zack Snyder's Justice League gives you a reason. And I'm going to try to avoid spoiling anything. So, because I know a few people who still have not seen it and need to. So I'm going to try to avoid being a spoiler on this one. But it makes you understand him, Cyborg. They did a great job with Cyborg. Now let's talk about the Bat, of course. I said in Justice League, they made him comic relief almost. He ain't comic relief in this. He's back to his darker roots again in this. This is what the continuation of Batman versus Superman, that Batman would be. It's that darker version again. He's not making all the dumb jokes. Now, I understand you lightened it up, which I hear all the time that people would prefer the DC do it lighter and stay away from all the dark. Don't have to go dark all the time. Stop going dark. Well, Justice League does that. It doesn't, the original one. It's light. It stays out of the dark pretty much, and people shit all over it. So it's like you got what you want, and you're still shitting over it. So what do you want? What do you want? All right, Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. It needed to be dark. I'm sorry. It needed to be dark. Now, there are those comedic moments there, but they spend a good time dealing with each hero. Flash, for example, they don't do a lot about Flash in the original one. Not really. You get a little taste of him, but not much. This movie, you get to understand Barry Allen a little bit more, because he doesn't have another movie to fall back on. We haven't seen his arc in anything. Wonder Woman, they even do a good job explaining her arc even a little more. And she already had a movie. Unfortunately, she's had 2. But they did her character well. The villain, they improved on the villain. Because the biggest complaint was that there was certain villains. That's all I'll say. Again, I'm trying not to spoil it. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is, if both those movies, Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League, you got Justice League in your left hand, Zack Snyder's Justice League and the right. You got to pick one of them, and you can never watch the other one. Get rid of Justice League. Watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is a genius movie. It is the best Zack Snyder movie he's ever done, as far as I'm concerned, was that. That was pure genius. I really do not have any complaints over that movie except for one small, minute thing. And it's tied into why this is number 2 and why something else is number 1. And I'll explain it when I'm dealing with number 1 here in a second. But strongly advise. I believe it is still on HBO Max. So if you have a subscription on HBO Max, I think it's still on there. Please definitely go over there and watch it. It recently, just about a week or so ago, came out on Blu-ray and DVD, which I bought. I pre-ordered that thing. I was going to own that. So I have it on Blu-ray. Definitely, please watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's like 4 hours long. Yeah, it's long. So fucking what? It is good. So good. I would rather watch this than that fucking bullshit Avengers any day of the week. And I own the first one, and I just, no. I will take this, Zack Snyder's Justice League, over any of those Avenger movies any day of the week, period. And so number 2, runner up, just barely, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Fucking watch it. All right. What is number 1? You already probably know what it is, but we'll do a quick review here. Number 10, Justice League from 2017. Number 9 is Batman Returns with, of course, Michael Keaton's last portrayal at the time of The Dark Knight. Number 8 is Batman Forever with Val Kilmer taking on the role, his one and only. Number 7 is The Dark Knight Rises, the third and final movie of the Dark Knight trilogy. Of course, Christian Bale. Number 6 is Batman 1989. Of course, Michael Keaton's debut as Batman. Number 5 is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Our first time seeing Ben Affleck take on the role. Number 4, Batman Begins, the beginning of the Dark Knight trilogy. Again, Christian Bale. Number 3, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, animated movie. Batman's voice, of course, the legend of Kevin Conroy, the best animated voice actor best voice actor for Batman ever. And I just said it. Number 2, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Of course, once again, back to Ben Affleck. Number 1, let's be honest. You already know what it is. You already knew what number 1 was. Every single one of you knew what number 1 was. As soon as I said what this list was, you knew right away what number 1 was going to be. And to me, there's no argument. I mean, there's just a small, minute difference in this and Zack Snyder's Justice League, but this movie has got to be number 1. It's just that damn good. 2008, Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Aaron Eckhart, Gary Oldman. It is The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is genius. It's just absolute genius. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie. There's just nothing wrong with it, except for the one little thing that I've mentioned previously. Now, why is this number 1 instead of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Joker. There's your difference. If you've watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, you already know what I mean. I'm not going to say what. Joker. That's the difference, is Joker. Heath Ledger as Joker was, again, I remember when it was announced he was going to be playing the role. I knew him from that Knight's Tale movie, which I thought was stupid, but still, I learned my lesson from all the way back in Michael Keaton. I'm going to give you a shot. I got to see you. I will give you a shot. Will I have my worries? Yes, but I'm going to give you a shot. And my God, if it wasn't for Joaquin Phoenix, he would be my favorite Joker of all time. But I have no problem if somebody tells me that their favorite Joker is Heath Ledger. That doesn't bother me one damn bit because it's such a tremendous portrayal. And he deserved the Academy Award. He deserved it. That was what he did for that role was amazing. And again, we're in that real world element with this movie, which was the middle movie of the Dark Knight trilogy. You have Aaron Eckhart, who's going to be playing, who plays Harvey Dent. And I love his Harvey Dent. He did a very good job as Harvey Dent. The complaint that I have in this movie is I just don't think he should have turned into Two-Face. I get why they did it. I just think it felt so for me, it felt thrown in to have him become Two-Face in the movie. I understand why you do it. I really do. But I think it was so thrown in to have him become Two-Face in the movie. But The Dark Knight, just as I'm recording this, I mean, every time on Batman Day, I always watch maybe 1 or 2 animated episodes of something Batman, and I watch The Dark Knight. I always watch The Dark Knight on Batman Day. So after I'm done recording this, when I head back from the 123 studios, I'm going to go watch some Batman, going to watch The Dark Knight. I could really talk about The Dark Knight all day and all night. I really could. It's just that damn good. Maggie Gyllenhaal, who takes over the role of Rachel Dawes. Hopefully I said her name right. I'm so terrible with names. She did a much better job as Rachel Dawes. That Rachel Dawes I cared about. That one I did. Had what happened to that Rachel Dawes happened to the Katie Holmes Rachel Dawes, I wouldn't have cared. I just wouldn't have cared. I didn't like the character, but I like Maggie's portrayal of the role. So I think she did a great job. So she added to this movie. Christian Bale really got into the role for this. His Bruce Wayne again, just top notch. Such a good Bruce Wayne. Again, that damn voice, just terrible. It's just terrible. And the bat suit. Some people have a problem with the bat suit, making him look a little slimmer, but let's be honest here. He couldn't turn his head. I mean, you kind of need to turn your head to avoid maybe getting punched, shot, run over by a car. He needed to turn his head. So the look is nice with the shoulder connecting to the neck, but you couldn't turn your head because of it. So it was a sacrifice that needed to occur. And I actually like that bat suit. I actually think it's a cool looking bat suit. So I didn't have a problem with that. And of course, you all know I already love the Tumbler. Expanding on Lucius Fox's character some more, love Morgan Freeman's portrayal, the heart connection between. I love what they did in this trilogy with the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Alfred. I just love what they did with that. I mean, it is the best that they did with it was this trilogy. There actually is a nice moment in Batman and Robin where you get to see that relationship between Bruce and Alfred. It's one of the few things good about that movie, by the way. Keaton and Alfred, you don't see a lot there. There's a little bit there, but not like you see it between Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne, Michael Caine, Alfred. So The Dark Knight is just a genius movie, and it's obvious why this was number one. I think in most people's lists of Batman movies, this is number one, I think, in a lot of people's lists. If it's not number one, you probably at least have it as number two. And that's a great compliment to this movie. They just did such an amazing job that every Batman movie that comes out, that's what you're competing with. You're competing with that, The Dark Knight. And if you have Joker in your movie, you're really setting yourself up for a competition now, because it's The Dark Knight. It's going to always be The Dark Knight. There's been a lot of great Batman movies, and who knows with what's coming out soon or next year, hopefully. But every movie is going to be competing as far as Batman with The Dark Knight, and that is a tough road to try to fight. Don't try to fight it too much. Just put out a good product, and you may just topple it just by doing that. But The Dark Knight is so damn perfect. It is a beautiful, beautiful movie in every respect. The visuals, the music, the action, the storytelling, the acting, everything about this movie is just tremendous. Just very, very few things are negative about it. Again, I already said it. I don't think Two-Face should have appeared. And of course, Heath Ledger stole the movie. I mean, he just completely stole the movie. If you're a Batman fan, I don't even have to think it. You've watched this movie. You know how good it is. You know it's number one. You damn well know it deserves to be number one. No argument. Number one Batman movie, The Dark Knight. The middle part of the Dark Knight trilogy and its best part. Number one Batman movie. There we go. I just got off work right before this and was working on finishing this. So my throat has not even had a chance to rest. But that is your countdown. What do you think? What are your movies? What are your favorite Batman movies? Do you have favorite Batman moments? Do you want to just talk to me about Batman? Send me a message about Batman. Communicate with me in any way you want. Many ways you can do that, of course. You can send me an email. Just send it to thecountdown2020@gmail.com. You can give me ideas, of course, for other show ideas that you want. I love it when I get those. So please, if you have an idea for a countdown for me, if you have an idea for a countdown in which you want me to do with one of our past guests, like with maybe Rob or Eric or the Doc or Blake, please, maybe you want to come on the countdown with me. I don't know. Please email me. You can also go over to the Facebook page. Just search at the Countdown 2020 Podcast 1. And I want you to go to the Facebook page because on there's a poll where I want you to vote for I want you to name your favorite comic book inspired movie. So if you're listening to my voice and you haven't done it, go over to the Facebook page. I recently put it on there, so it should be the most recent message, except for after I post this episode. Please go on there. All you have to do is click on the link. There's going to be a box. I believe it's blue, the link. Click on it, and then there's a box. Simply type in your movie, and please vote for your favorite comic book inspired movie, whether it's Batman or it's something non-Batman or Marvel, or maybe it's one of the more obscure things that people would not think is inspired off comics, like Men in Black or History of Violence. Whatever it is, please, please, please input your vote in that poll. You can go over to Twitter, just search at the Countdown PO1. I'm on Instagram, just search the Countdown 20. You can listen to every episode on Spotify, just search the Countdown 2020. I'm on Amazon Audible, just search the Countdown Podcast. You can hear me on iHEART Radio, just search the Countdown Podcast. You can go over to Podbean, just search the Countdown Podcast. And on there, you can go through the website that's through Podbean. It's where all the episodes are archived there for you as well. thecountdown2020.podbean.com. And I'm also on YouTube. You just search the Countdown Podcast with MJ Book. Now, I said it before, not every episode is going to get a video episode on the YouTube page. Audios are going to go on there, but not every video is going to go on there. This is one of those. You may have noticed it while I was talking. This is not going to have a video episode. It's just going to have an audio episode. So please hop over there as well if you want to listen to the show. All episodes are available through podbean.com. Please like, listen, follow, watch, and subscribe. And want to give a shout out and a thanks to Incomtech.com. Kevin MacLeod for the royalty-free music Ice Flow that you hear at the top and end of episodes. Some you don't hear it at the top because sometimes I might add something else in there. Maybe I did for this one. You already know if I did or not. Probably didn't, though. But please, also want to throw this out there. If you're a professional wrestling fan, please listen to Third Generation Wrestling, hosted by the real Big E Eric and the Ambassador Rob. I'm a contributor on the show, as well as the good brother Blake, the Inside Man, and the Doc of Wordonomics. Please listen in. Me and Eric recently did a watch along of the Matrix trailer. So that was something recent. Going to be doing, of course, pay-per-views for whether it's AEW or NXT or WWE movie reviews. Please listen to Third Generation Wrestling. They're available on all of the avenues I just said, including a few more. Please search them out. And that is all I have for you. And so I'm going to catch you all again on the next episode of The Countdown. Have yourself a great day or evening, whatever time it is. Bye-bye. And thank you for listening.